Welcome to Exxon Photography and welcome to a very special review. The review of the Hasselblad H3D 39 megapixel camera. It's a digital medium format camera and I have it now for a couple of years and I never made a review about it because I thought when I make a review about it, it has to be in an area of studio photography with big flashes, but I've never done that really. And so now after these years I thought, let me just show you what I got and give you my experience with it. Now, this is a very special camera and I don't think many people has one of these. Actually, it's very difficult to get a head around all the different variations there are of the Hasselblad cameras from the H system. I think we all know the Hasselblad H, the X1D, the new mirrorless medium format camera, but the H system is actually where it all digitally began and where the kind of best photography studios and kind of image quality, that is where they go to. They go for the phase 1 or the Hasselblad H system. Now it might change with the GFX from Fuji, the 100 megapixel camera, and the X1D and Sony A7R IV. So the market gets wider now, there's more opportunity to choose from, different cameras. But a couple of years ago, the main cameras for the highest end photography stuff was Hasselblad H system or the phase 1, and both very expensive cameras. This, as it is in my hand right now, came to the market in 2006. Camera, the body, the sensor, the grip, battery, and the lens for $32,000. I got this for 3,000 euros, and let me tell you the story behind it. Now, I'm somebody, I believe in dreams. I live in dreams. I am a vision board. Whatever I'm doing, somewhere in my mind, I'm visualizing who I want to be. In every situation, there's the person you are and the person you want to be. And they are always fighting each other. And sometimes the person you are wins and sometimes the person you want to be wins. So there was a time when I thought, what camera is used by the best photographers on the planet? And I know if you ask these people, the gear is not so important, but I thought, which cameras do the best people use? And when you look up at Google, top 10 photographers on the planet, best paid photographer, whatever kind of this Google search, but there somewhere is Annie Leibovitz, and probably at the top 3. So one of the best photographers on the planet, best paid photographers, best respected photographers is Annie Leibovitz. And that is a woman who started out at the Rolling Stone magazine and photographed, I think, 150 covers of the Rolling Stone. She is so deep into photography that her newest book is her early works starting in the 70s. I'm born 1986, so when I was 1, she already had a long time in photography and she's still doing it. And when you look at her, this is the camera that she holds in her hand. So I thought, I never saw a Hasselblad camera. I never seen this in the photography store. I don't know where to get this. I don't even know what models there are, what lenses, where do I buy a lens, you know? And this is the H3D. There is the H3D 2. Just within the H3D, there is the 31 megapixel version, which has a smaller sensor. There's the 39 megapixel version, which has a bigger sensor, physical size. There's a 50 megapixel version. And so there is a lot of variety and there is not a lot of resource that show you what is there, how it's the prices. So getting a camera like this on the used market and actually knowing what price you should pay is a gamble. Somebody might give you a great deal or might give you a bad deal. So I decided, this was a dream some years ago. One day I want to have the most expensive camera or the camera that the best photographers use. And I want to experience it. I want to try it. I want to see, will it change me? Will it change the images? And this was it. And I looked it up on eBay. This is the only place where you can find this. Now there is a new one, the H6D 100 and 400 megapixel camera. Here's the price of this in 2020 without a lens. I think it's without a lens. It's 40 something thousand euros for the highest model in the H line. And this was it in 2006. So I look it up on eBay, I find one here, one there, month passed by. Half a year later, I look up maybe every 3-4 weeks if there is a new one. And I find one in Hamburg. I thought Hamburg, you know, I don't want it to send 3,000 euros to someone and then he's gone. Because I've had that experience with a Canon L prime lens. Sending money and never hearing anything from him and the lens doesn't arrive. So I thought, if I buy this camera, I have to go there personally. Anna comes with me. We go to Hamburg. It is the most expensive area in Hamburg, right at the waterside. We ring, a guy comes down, around 63, 64 years old, brown, slim, cool guy. He says, follow me, and he goes outside, and I thought he's now giving us the camera in front of the house. We go around the corner to the garage. He opens up the garage. There's one Porsche Cayenne, the family wagon. There's one blue Porsche GT2 RS, GT3, I don't know. And there's a vintage Porsche from the 70s. And then there's an area with all the lightning stuff, and there is his photography gear. And there is the Hasselblad H3D. And this is my first contact with this camera. Anna is with me. We're in Hamburg, in a garage of some self-made photographer. Half an hour he told us stories about when he was younger. And he told us his daily rate as a photographer was 17,000 euros. And I'm thinking, oh, this is a great... I mean, you can look at a photographer and feel sorry for him that he has this job because photographers don't make any money in the area of smartphone photography. And then there is someone looking at me and saying, his daily rate is 17,000 euros for one day of work using this. Big flash systems there, big umbrellas. I've never seen this. I don't know these brands, but all the professional big stuff. Everything's super expensive. And this is the first contact that I've had with this camera. And Anna is with me. I take these first shots in his garage. I got a snap of the Porsche. And then we go home and I'm in heaven. I see myself 30 years from now. We already live in a beautiful place. There's already this crazy cars in front of the house. It will just get better and better. So this was my first contact. The next day I took the camera and went out on the street and took some snapshots just around the town here in Bremen where I live. And let me show you these images now. Now looking at the Hasselblad H3D, one question is what am I actually going to photograph with it and how is the technical feature set of it. So this is a camera that is very different from a DSLR, for example, in many different reasons. The sensor is really big. We will take a look at the sensor in a moment so you see actually a comparison to full frame and APS-C sensor sizes. But also everything is slower and minimalistic. So there's only one focus point, which is in the center. And when I focus, you need some time to take the picture. And you hear when the camera is ready to go on. But you know what I love about it? The sound. This is really like the old analog medium format cameras, like a Pentagon 6 for example. This is a medium format camera from back in the days. This doesn't even have a battery. This works totally mechanical. And this is where the Hasselblad H3D lives, with this beautiful sound. To me it's like a car. You know, an old Mustang. When you put it on, you hear it. You enjoy it while driving, the sound, the smell. And this is something like this. This is a camera that takes only a few images. I think maybe 1 image per second, I don't know. But you can hear, you can see the speed. So you just check it, camera full. No. So you see, this is not a speedy camera, and yet, so the question is, what actually am I going to take pictures of with this camera? And I love to take pictures of people, I love to photograph people on the streets. So let's take a look at how can we take pictures of strangers on the streets. 2-3 minute street photography portrait session with this camera. So I took some images here in Bremen, where I live, and also in Amsterdam, where I met with Johnny, who's a wedding photographer. And let's take a look at how these images turned out. Hiermit das Video, einfach so. Und hiermit die Bilder. Du kannst einfach so stehen bleiben. Ich schaue einmal, look, ich mache einmal schauen. Einmal looky. Ich habe so eine ganz alte Kamera gerade hier dabei. Die ist ein bisschen umständlicher, aber macht sehr schöne Bilder. Sehr schön. Und vielleicht einmal, wenn du dich einfach mal hier anlehnst, einfach so. Und ich komme einmal von hier. Ja, sehr schön so. Und einmal schauen. Schau ruhig noch mal einmal die Straße runter. Stell dir vor, da kommt gerade dein Traummann auf dich zu. Und ich gehe noch mal einen Schritt zurück. Bleib ruhig einmal so. Einfach so. Sehr schön. So. Und vielleicht einmal mitten auf der Schiene. Achso, da kommt eine. Dann stellen wir uns auf diese Seite. Da kommt auch. Machen wir ruckzuck einmal. So. Okay, gehen wir hier rüber. Und vielleicht einmal noch einfach hier in dem Gang. Da ist gerade so, vielleicht wenn du dich hier hinstellst. Ich guck mal, jetzt müsstest du so im Licht sein. Das ist eigentlich ganz schön. Und ich guck mal, dass ich hier Platz finde. Ist sehr schön so. So. Einmal looky. Und einmal noch vom Nahen und dann ist goodie. Noch einmal gegens Licht, einfach so. So ist auch sehr schön. Mal schauen. Wir gucken uns gleich mal die Bilder an. Okay, ich gebe dir einmal die Kamera. Ja. Einfach so. Gebe ich dir eben die Tasche. Ja, ich habe mir diese große Kamera hier gekauft. and I just hold it like this, and with this camera I take the pictures. So
can we see after?
yeah, we take a look at the pictures. Let me just. Yeah, looks really nice. And just like let me just take a look at the. And I take one more time.
Okay.
And you can also get closer together. Yeah. Very nice. And I go one step back just so I get you. And I come a little bit closer. You can just stay like this. Yeah. Perfect. So I can show you. Take a look at some images.
Oh, it's nice.
Oh, it's so sweet.
It's sweet actually.
Yeah. It's cool.
Oh, I like them.
Yeah, I think it looks really nice. Maybe one more of each of you, just right here. Maybe here. So try to get the flowers. Yeah, it looks really nice. And maybe look to your friend. Yeah. Perfect. Just like this.
Oh, are you taking a picture of me?
And one more just like this. And I take one from this side, and then it's and maybe when you look just into this direction, very nice. And I take one. I take one just over there,
Maybe here.
or here. Bop, 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 bop.
It's not holding. Come on, just forget about it.
Yeah, it's fine. You can just leave it as it is. And let me just take a look. Maybe one more time, so I change a little bit my. Oh, can you go to the?
Here, like.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's really nice. And maybe, yeah, when you also when you look a little bit down the river here. And one more time to me. And to your friend. Very nice. And again, when you look at each other. Yeah. Just like this. Okay. We can take a look at the images.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so
Could you please excuse us for one or two pictures?
Oh yeah, yeah. So let me just take a look. Yeah, that's really nice. I just take some pictures just like this. And look to me, just like this. Yeah, very nice. And maybe when you hug each other, when you embrace, when you get close together. Yeah. Yeah, they're very nice. And do it again. Okay. And I'll take one more from the other side, and then it's goody. I just take some from here, and it's nice with the bridge in the background. Let me just take a look. Just like this. And if you like, you can also put your hand like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. And maybe one of each of you. Yeah. You can just stay like this. Very nice. Just like this. And look again to you. Oh yeah, like. And look to your friend. And maybe one of you, or maybe also here.
Yeah. Sure.
So,
I don't know where.
yeah. So let's.
Close with the heads, please. Yeah. Look at the ground. Look at me.
And I'll take one more of you, and then it's goody goody. Yeah, just like this. I'll just take some pictures just like this. Very nice.
So how long you will stay here?
And one last one. Come a little bit closer. Oh. Okay.
Did I see those?
So let me just see if it's a little bit too bright. Pop, 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 pop. So I hold this to take the picture, to make the video like this, and with this one I'll take the pictures. Yeah, you can just stand like this. Okay, let me just check it. One moment. Yeah, that looks really nice. Very nice. You can both look to me. I can show you how it looks like, so you... And maybe when you both look a little bit to the central station, yeah, a little, or to the... when you look a little bit into this direction, I think it's really nice. And get closer together. Ah yeah, very nice. Oh, and maybe so you are a couple or no? No. Okay, but you can put your arm around her. Just as just a friendly hug. Okay, and what? Background. Let's go. Very nice. And yeah. Let me just take one picture of you, just like this. And just one of you, just like this. Okay. So yeah, I just go pop, like this. Ah yeah. Very nice. Oh, you can go. That's no problem. Just take a look. It's a very old. And maybe also one from here, just like this.
Wait, hold on.
Ah, yeah.
Take a few seconds.
So,
Alright.
and also one from here, and then finito. And yeah, you can turn to me. And I take one of each of you again, for one of you, just like this. And also one of you. One last one. Okay, it's a. So. Ja, sehr schön. So, ich schau einmal. So, was kommt noch? Looky.
Sehen wir okay aus?
Ja, sehr schön. So. Sehr schön. Ich komme noch mal ein bisschen näher, einfach so. Ah ja. Einmal Looky. Und vielleicht einmal, vielleicht hier. Mal schauen. Vielleicht, wenn ihr euch hier einfach...
Sind Sie oft in Amsterdam?
Nee.
Nicht?
Ich bin nur auch heute nur einen Tag. Einmal so. Sehr schön. Wenn ihr wollt, ihr könnt euch auch ein bisschen umarmen, wenn ihr möchtet. Ah ja, sehr schön. Sehr schön. Ah ja, sehr süß. Und spricht sie Englisch? Oder?
Ja, sie spricht Englisch.
So you understand me in English?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll take a picture of you, just like this. And one of you, and maybe one of each of you. Maybe when you can you do something like this?
Yes.
And I take a picture from this side. Yeah, that looks nice. just take a look. And also look to your friend. And look to me. Oder schau ruhig zu mir. Ja, sehr schön. Und auch einmal one time with you. Just some pictures of you. Just like this. Yeah, it looks really nice. Okay. Perfect. If you like, I always have some. We can take a look at. Yeah, just like this. Just take a look. Yeah. Yeah, that looks really nice. Just like this. And I go a little bit further away. You can stand like this. Ah, yeah. Very nice. And one of each of you again. Nochmal von jedem einzeln. Noch einmal von dir. So. Und einmal von dir auch. Ja, dann habt ihr ein paar schöne Erinnerungen. Na? Sehr schön. Und einmal noch so. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no. Hiermit filme ich das und hiermit mache ich die Fotos. Ich mache mal einen Test, um zu schauen. Einmal so. Bop, 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 bop. Und ich gehe noch. Ja, sehr schön. Und schau ruhig noch mal zu mir. Sehr schön. Ich gehe noch mal einen Schritt zurück. So. Und einmal auch von hier. Ja, sehr schön. Ich mache immer ein paar mehr Bilder. Und ich gucke noch einmal vielleicht. Bop, 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 bop. Auch noch einmal so von hier. Ja, es ist schön mit dem Fahrrad so. Und schau noch mal einfach so auf die andere Straßenseite rüber, wo das Auto gerade hält. Stell dir vor, da kommt gerade dein Traummann vorbei. Sehr schön. Wir können mal raufgucken. Das ist eine sehr alte Kamera. Man sieht also nicht so viel. Ich packe das mal eben. Schau mal eben. Ich halte die Kamera einfach so und hiermit mache ich die Bilder.
Okay.
Ich gucke einmal von der Einstellung. Genau, bleib ruhig so.
Ja.
Einmal looky. Einfach so. Einmal schauen. Ja, sehr schön.
Ja?
Dudel.
Soll ich was machen? Vorsicht.
Jetzt fährt der Wagen weg, ne?
Ja.
Und schau noch mal einfach so zu den Mästen drüber vom Boot. Sehr schön. Ich gehe noch mal einen Schritt zurück. Jetzt kommt die Wespe.
Ja.
Sehr schön so. Schau einmal. Und willst du dich einmal einfach an den Baum lehnen? Einfach, vielleicht einfach so.
Ja.
Und ich denke, es schaut auch ganz schön aus.
Ist doch okay.
Ja, schön.
Sie am besten nicht mit drauf.
Ja. Ich hab nur dich drauf. Also
Okay.
einmal. Und schau auch noch mal einfach so den Gang runter. Stell dir vor, da kommt gerade dein Traummann auf dich zu. Sehr schön. Und ich gehe noch mal einen Schritt zurück. Bop. Und vielleicht einmal am Geländer, hier an der... Wir können mal gucken. Geht das mit der Sonne?
Ja.
Ja, so ist eigentlich ganz gut. Einmal hier die Einstellung. Sehr schön so. Einmal looky. Ist eine ganz alte Kamera, aber die macht sehr schöne Bilder. Vielleicht einmal noch einfach mitten auf dem Weg. Jetzt kommen gerade keine Autos. Ja, wenn du willst, du kannst auch eine Hand so in die Hüfte nehmen.
Ja.
Ja, genau. Sehr schön. So. Warte, ich komme noch mal ein bisschen. Bleib ruhig so. Einfach so. Dudelu. Sehr schön. Und eins einmal gegens Licht. Einfach, wenn wir uns umdrehen. Also ihr könnt ruhig vorbeigehen. Alles goodie. Ich mache einfach eins noch einmal so. Und wir können mal gucken in der Kamera. Das Display ist sehr alt. Now, one thing that strikes me is the keeper rate. The keeper rate of this camera is nearly 100%. It's over 90%, which means that all images I take, let's say I take 100 images, 90 of them I will edit, or 90 of them I will keep and continue to work on and save, which is a really crazy rate. I always try to reduce the numbers that I'm going to work on. when I use my other cameras. But with this one, because it's such a slow camera kind of, and because it's such a huge sensor, nearly every image has something. And I only have one lens. It's the 80mm 2.8, which is the lens that comes with the camera. It's the kit lens. It costs 3,000 euros if you want to buy it new. It's the cheapest lens that you can get for the system. You can pay much more. You can pay 5,000. If you want a zoom lens, you can easily pay 8,000 for one lens. And so it's a very different camera. It only has one autofocus point in the center of it. I'm used to do that, used to focus and recompose. It has a very big sensor. Let's see autofocus speed. Let me focus on something way in the distance. And now on the camera. And way in the distance. And now on the camera. So it is slow, but it really works fine for me. And it is heavy, it's large, but actually I can hold it really nicely with one hand like this and photograph actually like this. So when I'm on the streets taking these street portraits, I'm photographing with this and I'm filming with this one like this. So I'm standing there like this. This is the way I'm filming these videos. And it works really, really well using this way. And this is something very special. I haven't made any euro, dollar, pound with this camera, but I've really enjoyed it. It is a dream came true. And one thing about dreams is they are in your mind, and it's a beautiful, the process is a beautiful way. And once you got that dream, materialize or realize is no more that special. You think, when I have that camera, once I get there, I will be super big, the images will be amazing. And I've taken out this camera with the 80mm 2.8 and the Canon 6D Mark I with the 50mm 1.2 at f1.2, and I've compared the images, and I put a long video in the description so you see in Lightroom Hasselblad, Canon 6D, how the images compare. And I find it, some people in the comments say something different, but I find it looks pretty similar, which speaks really well for the Canon. Because it's way more convenient and cheap. And you know, here is a fan to cool the sensor. And when water gets in here, it's done. You have to have it repaired, and it can cost a lot of money if Hasselblad actually still repairs these by now old cameras. This is a modular camera, so let's just take a look what that means. Let's put this off here. So we can actually put everything off. The battery is actually the grip. So this is the camera. You just see it. The grip is here. This is how you hold it. And it's also the battery. So here's the battery. Now there is no more grip. You put the battery down here. And there you are. Have a couple of these batteries. And very portable, super easy. They hold pretty long. I actually expected it to last much shorter, but I find that the battery lasts pretty long. All the menus is super simple. You can choose single autofocus, continuous autofocus, one autofocus point. You can set the white balance in Kelvin also, but everything is pretty basic, and you can put everything off. You have this viewfinder, this one, if I lose it now, it costs I think 2,000 euros new for this camera, not for the newest camera, but for this one. And let's take a look at the sensor. Let's just put this apart. Here's the lens, which is pretty small for a medium format lens. And here you see the mirror. I think you can see the mirror. Let's take a look at the APS-C camera mirror. So here's the APS-C. Let's just see if you can see. So here's an APS-C camera, and here's the mirror of the big Hasselblad camera. And it is a pretty huge sensor. Before I bought this camera, I was also looking at the Hasselblad X1D and the GFX by Fujifilm, but the sensor of the X1D and the sensor of the GFX, they are smaller than this one. And I really wanted to go for the biggest sensor. And this is a modular camera. You can put everything apart and you can swap it out. So let's just see. We have the battery here. We have the body here with the mirror in it. Then we have the lens, the viewfinder, and the sensor, which is the heart. You can also put other sensors on it. And this is now how the Hasselblad is put back together. And I know there are not many reviews about it, so I thought I'd give you one. I know it's an old camera, it's no longer, you probably are not interested in buying it right now in 2020, but I think it's nice looking back. And there are other cameras like the H3D, which has a different autofocus system as well, true focus. 5D, 6D, you can get these used for much less than you pay for new. So let me just show you some more images of this camera. Now, to my final word. Would I buy it again? Now, as a photographer, I don't need this camera. I don't have shootings where I need this camera. This has 39 megapixel. I have a Canon camera that has 50 megapixel, and I have all the lenses, f1.2 from wide angle to telephoto. So I don't need this one. I wanted to have it because I'm a dreamer, and as a dreamer I believe in the impossible. And what I hold in my hand here is the impossible. A couple of years ago, a Hasselblad H camera in my own hands, in my own house, as a hobby stuff, that was a dream. That was the impossible. I am not holding a camera here to take pictures. I'm holding here a dream that I live right now, that I mastered and that I enjoy. And it's a symbol for me that this is the tool that the best cameras of 10 years ago used. At the peak of technology, the best camera that was out there was this one. And this is how people made a lot of money with. And it motivates me. It tells me that every camera that comes out now, it's much better than this one. I mean, the ISO, the maximum ISO at 800. The usable ISO at a maximum 400. And the best ISO is just ISO 50 or 100. ISO 200 is already a compromise. You don't want to shoot a big campaign with ISO 200 or 400 with this camera. You do not want to shoot anything at ISO 800 because the images look so bad with the noise and the color. Nothing against this camera, but it's just beyond usable. It's like using a modern DSLR or mirrorless camera and shooting at ISO 60,000. It might work, but you probably wouldn't want to use that, especially not on a paid photo shoot at ISO 60,000. So this is like this using at ISO 800 because it's nearly 14 years ago when it came out. So it's a very special camera. I have it in my heart. Hasselblad is a very interesting company with a lot of heritage and history, and this was beyond possible. I put a lot of money on the table at that time. It's already a couple of years now, and I've used it, I got it, and my conclusion is it's not that different than any other camera. So it works, it gets the job done. It's a different experience, that's where actually the biggest difference is. But the images, I think, some shootings on the streets, like in Amsterdam, I had the H3D and I had the Canon 6D with the 50mm 1.2, and the images look very similar, especially as I edited them the same way. So you probably do not see that difference if you don't know that two cameras were used. That's what I want to say. So the verdict of this user experience of this review of the H3D, I wanted to do it because I haven't found many videos about this camera on the internet. I wanted to show you images. They're all taken on the 80mm 2.8, mostly like this. You've seen the sound, or you heard the sound. You see it in my hand. I'll take some pictures with the backdrop in a moment, so you see some more images of it. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. This sensor has the CF card. I don't have CF card, so I have an adapter. In that adapter is an SD card. So all the images are actually saved on an SD card. Yeah, and that was it. Thank you very much. So I thought, let's take a look at the images in Lightroom so we actually see the unedited ones. And here I have now a selection from various photo shoots and various times with my Hasselblad H3D camera. So these are street photographs that I took of strangers on the streets in Amsterdam. And here we're going to Spain. This is where my girlfriend lives. Here's our son. He's now 2.5 years old. Here he was probably not so old, so it's already a couple of years old. And I just give you an overview right now, so you see how the images look unedited, and then we go and edit some. What I experienced was that, not like with my other cameras, like the Canon ones, when I go out and take pictures and I come home, I make a selection of the images I keep, and so I may keep half of the images I took or a third of the images. And with the Hasselblad system, nearly every image I photographed I kept, and so the keeper rate is really, really high. Now it's also because the camera doesn't shoot that fast, just around an image per second or so, but it's also the images have a different kind of quality when you photograph. And so here we see the resolution at 7200 and 5400, 80mm. Here's the f-stop, ISO. I always try to use ISO 50, which is relatively easy here in Spain because it's sunny always. And we can zoom in maybe to 100%. And the lens is really beautiful. It's a super sharp lens. It takes beautiful images. The quality is in its own league. So here on the left side I have my preset pack. This is how I edit every image that I take. If it's a street portrait, if it's a wedding, if it's holidays, I just click on the preset and then the image is kind of done. And we can just use a couple of presets here. So you see here are some spots on the sensor. So the camera is old, which I've experienced when you buy a used camera. I've experienced that often you have some dust on the sensor, and I did not want to clean it, and so these images have some spots, which is fine for me because all the images I take are just for myself. But of course, if you were to use these images for professional stuff, you would have to clean the sensor. And I'm really fascinated with the quality of the lens and the sharpness. I mean, you can zoom in really, really tight and you see everything super clear. You see the towels here. You can see a lot of detail, which we have to think this is a camera not from 2020, but from 2006. And when I look back at what Canon had to offer at that time was the Canon 5D, which had 12 megapixel, which I also have. And I also took many images here in Spain. It's a beautiful camera, but this image quality is unmatched in that time. So this was something very incredible. Now when we look at today's time, there are many more cameras that offer similar capabilities in terms of resolution. For example, the 5DSR, which I also have, has 50 megapixel. There is the Sony A7R line, which is a fantastic camera system. There is the Nikon D800 series. But I really like to photograph with this camera system. And the quality is really, really astounding. It's a phenomenal image quality. The lenses, I mean, this is the cheapest lens, which, thinking about other camera brands with 3,000 euros, that would be, when you look at Canon, Nikon, Sony, 3,000 euros, you're looking at the most expensive lenses. Here on the Hasselblad, it's the cheapest lens. It's the kit lens, the 80mm. But it's a phenomenal lens. It's super lightweight, small, and it has a f2.8 aperture, which is really great. And I really love these images here. But as I said, you need sun, you need light. So you can use flashes. But if I live in Germany, so here it's cloudy also during winter, and it's winter right now. And it's much more difficult to take pictures just like this outside at ISO 50 here in Germany, as it is here in Spain. Now again, the image quality I think is really phenomenal. You can print these images pretty large. And it's super easy to edit. I mean, Hasselblad has its own editing software Focus. I haven't used it. I've only used Lightroom because I edit everything here in Lightroom. And the presets, I think I can use pretty easily. I just choose one, tweak it a little bit, and then it's done. I can copy it to all the other images just like this. Then we see down here, all the images now change. And this is how I edit any image, whether it's wedding, whether it's street portraits, whether it's family. I choose a preset and I copy it to all the other images. Now let's take a look. Let's do this to some street portraits here that we took. So you might think one image per second, that's not so much. Don't you miss images in between? And I think I nearly got every image I wanted when I photographed people. So it is a slow camera, but it's somehow still enough. I never had the feeling that I wanted a faster camera. I always got really nice shots. And the people don't wait for me. I mean, these are people that I talk to on the streets, and they just they will not hold still. They are not real models. They're just some random strangers, and we just have a great time together. And you see, I can choose any preset here. We can choose another one. Let's go with Gringo. Tweak it a little bit, and then go to synchronize. And down here now you see these images change in color and style. And I think it's a really lovely images here. Here I shot at ISO 200. Now, as I edited these images with the preset, you see kind of the image getting dirty when you really zoom in at 200%. You see some noise here. When we undo everything, the image looks cleaner. But when we start editing, ISO 200 is already not the best setting. When you zoom out, you don't see it that much, but when you zoom in at ISO 200, it's not the best. It's not the best way to use it, especially not when you change the meters here. Let's take a look at the high ISO capability. I said you can't use it at ISO 800, so let's just take a look at ISO 800 shots. This is now ISO 800, and let's choose just let's take just an image like this one here. So I think this image looks really nice. It's ISO 800, f2.8, beautiful blurry background. It's my son with my girlfriend, and you see here in the dark areas, I haven't edited anything here, and you see how in the black area everything falls apart kind of. When you zoom in like this, you don't want this noise, this color noise. I mean, he looks really nice, but the black areas look really not so nice. And when I now go and apply any preset, maybe Coloria, the effect will just be stronger. So if you print this image now large, the black area is not so nice. You see, it doesn't really look that much. Now this looks nice, but when you zoom in, it doesn't look nice. And I think this image gets really away with the ISO. But when we look at other images and we zoom in, now this is unedited, we see the color noise here. And when we start editing something, you see how that just gets even stronger. And if you look at this, his back here, it doesn't really work well. You see it all falls apart kind of. There is really a lot of noise. And this is what I mean with shooting at ISO 800 is not the best idea. It's an emergency setting. If it's really dark, you don't have external light, do it, but don't zoom in on it because it's not going to be 2020. This is a 2006 camera, and for that it's phenomenal. It's way beyond its time. Now there are the Nikon D800 series, the Sony A7R, Canon has the 5DSR, which is a phenomenal camera. You find a review on this channel as well. You also find the preset pack here on my website, Dirkson Photography. If you want super fast images, this works with any camera. I've used these presets with Fuji cameras, Sony A7 cameras, a lot of Canon cameras, and now with the Hasselblad you see that you can use these presets as well. And I wanted to give you an insight also into the editing part, how you can tweak the the file. So I think we now got a really nice overview about the Hasselblad H3D. This was my view on it. I know there are not so many videos about this camera, especially not newer ones. So I thought I'd give you a perspective from a Canon photographer, which I mostly am. Mostly have Canon stuff. And I mean, the images look gorgeous when you look at the clarity and the detail with shots like this. It's really, really beautiful, but it's limited to having a lot of light, so shooting at low ISO. The camera itself, you cannot use it in the rain, not even anywhere where it's really wet. There are a lot of limitations. For me, it was a really phenomenal experience because it was a dream that was out of reach. It was super expensive. Everything on Hasselblad is expensive from the H series. And being someone who has one of these cameras is a privilege. And I still feel about it the same way. And that I could buy it just for fun is also beautiful, because 7 years ago, being able to photograph every day was a dream. I was an insurance salesman. And one day I decided to only live off photography. And I didn't make money for 8 months. Couldn't pay the rent. Couldn't pay the health insurance. And after 8 months, I figured it out. And now, 7 years later, I can buy stuff like this just to satisfy the kid inside, who still dreams and who also makes his dream come true. Every once in a while, maybe a dream stays in my head and in my heart for a year, maybe 2 years, but then I get it. The camera I'm looking at now is the Leica MD, whether it's the M262 or the M10D, doesn't matter. But that's the next camera that I'm looking into that I don't need. I'm not going to use to make money with it. It's just for the kid inside that has a dream in photography and that has the courage to make them real. Thank you very much.